Your prettiest rooster might be your most expensive mistake. And the worst part? He looks completely perfect, right up until he destroys your flock. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how to catch him before it's too late. Seasoned producer, picture this. You spend serious money, we're talking hundreds of dollars, and months of hard labor to bring a foundation rooster into your pens. He looks like an absolute masterpiece. Perfect physical standard, dazzling feathers, that deep, imposing red that only shows up on a champion Rhode Island red bloodline. You look at him and you think, this bird just secured productive future of everything I built. But here's the brutal truth nobody tells you at the point of sale. Beneath that imposing exterior, a deep genetic fracture might be crouching right now, hiding in the dark, waiting for the exact moment to collapse your next generation and drain every dollar of feed investment you put into your maternal lines. In high-performance poultry breeding, the eye deceives, and what you see on the outside is almost never the engine roaring on the inside. I reviewed breeding programs where producers lost $800 to $1,400 in a single season, not from disease, not from predators, but from one genetically fraudulent rooster they trusted too early. Today we're running a full diagnostic audit on your flock sire using the most ruthless tool in applied biology, the test cross. And we're doing it through 6 specific checkpoints. 6 genetic red flags your rooster is hiding right now that will tell you the raw truth before that bird ever touches your core breeding flock. Miss even one of these indicators and you are flying blind. Let's go through all 6. Before we hit the first red flag, you need to understand the weapon you're working with, because without this foundation, the 6 indicators won't make sense. The test cross is not a laboratory trick. It is the most ruthless diagnostic machine in applied biology. Stop viewing your birds as simple farm animals and start seeing them as biological fortresses. Every bird carries 2 copies of each gene. But nature is a master of deception. Dominant genes act like heavy steel armor on a tractor. They create the obvious phenotype you see walking across the yard every morning. But beneath that thick plating, deep mechanical flaws hide. Dangerous recessive genes that stay completely out of sight, crouching in the shadows, waiting for the exact moment to collapse your next generation. Massive logistical failure that hands you false negatives and lets a defective rooster pass as your foundation champion. Here's why. There are 2 completely different types of white operating in poultry genetics with clashing biological mechanisms. Recessive white, governed by the recessive C gene, is the authentic clean canvas you need. A bird carrying recessive white simply cannot produce feather pigment. She's genetically neutral, perfect for stripping the hidden DNA of your suspicious sire completely bare. But dominant white, governed by the dominant I inhibitor gene, is an entirely different animal. This acts as a high-impact chemical blocker that suppresses dark pigment by sheer brute force. If you use a dominant white hen in your test cross, she injects that inhibitor directly into every chick. Color leaks get buried. Hidden crosses disappear entirely. You'll stand in front of a brooder full of clean, white, seemingly uniform chicks, and believe you made a great investment, while you've actually just introduced a genetic Trojan horse into your operation. Commercial white birds almost always carry dominant white. Keep them completely isolated from your audits. Run your test cross only against proven recessive white or solid black heritage hens. Red flag number 1 confirmed. Any color leak in the feathering, red, gold, or silver, in chicks from a black-based test cross. 1 chick showing it is enough. The sire is compromised. Stay with me, because red flag number 2 is visible before the chicks even consume their first ounce of starter feed. And what it tells you about your rooster's weather resilience will completely change how you evaluate a hatch. Red flag number 2. Most producers are focused on counting chicks when they open the hatcher. The producers who are actually winning are looking at something else entirely. The color of the down on the chest and back before those chicks ever hit the brooder floor. The strict standard of a legitimate heritage bloodline demands that chicks hatch with a deep, dark, richly pigmented down base. This isn't cosmetic. That dark pigmentation of the feather root is the early biological expression of a thermal defense system, the same system that allows a properly bred Rhode Island red to hold production through brutal winters without expensive supplemental heating infrastructure. When merchants cross their stock with industrial layer breeds to accelerate early growth rates and hit market weight faster, they destroy this vital weather protection completely. And the evidence shows up at hatch, not at 8 weeks, not at the first winter, right there in the hatchet tray while the chicks are still drying off. If you pull chicks from the incubator and see white or pale cream down on the chest or back, you are looking at the clear genetic signature of diluted commercial breeding. These birds will burn through expensive feed on pasture without maintaining body weight. Their production will plummet the first time temperatures drop hard. And instead of an abundant harvest of nutritious, fat-dense eggs, you'll be managing a flock that is chronically vulnerable to respiratory distress and early molting failure. The evidence of the fraud is visible before those chicks consume a single ounce of starter ration. Red flag number 2 confirmed. White or pale cream down a hatch on the chest or back. The sire has been crossed with industrial layer genetics. His daughters will not hold production through winter. Red flag number 3. Once your test chicks are established in the brooder and moving on to their grower ration, your third diagnostic window opens at ground level, literally. A pure foundation rooster built for real homestead work passes a very specific trait to every legitimate offspring. Deep, rich yellow shanks extending smoothly all the way down to the toes. This isn't an aesthetic preference. Yellow shank pigmentation is genetically linked to the metabolic efficiency and structural integrity that define a legitimate dual-purpose production bird. It tells you the bird's genetic package is optimized for converting forage into productive output, not for feedlot weight gain at the expense of everything else. Now watch carefully. If the previous owner introduced heavy meat breed genetics to inflate body mass and sell a bigger-looking bird, the rooster might personally display yellow shanks while still carrying contamination as a hidden recessive. The test cross exposes this. His offspring will tell the truth, he cannot. When you release your test chicks onto open pasture and offer them whole grain, watch their movement first. A pure lineage chick handles rough terrain with agility, foraging actively, covering ground efficiently. A contaminated chick displays heavy, unnatural sluggishness, moving like a bird whose frame was built for a feed house, not a field. Then look at the shanks directly. A single chick hatching with pale gray or white shanks in your test cross completely exposes the impure genetics. That coloration confirms direct contamination with heavy meat lines, and the production consequences are severe. Feed conversion efficiency drops. Expected laying performance of 250 to 280 eggs per year gets cut significantly. The protein and fat density in the yolk declines at the same time, and these genetic imposters develop severe foot pad dermatitis and dangerous heat exhaustion when summer temperatures climb, forcing you to monitor their condition constantly and cutting deep into your operational margins every single season. Red flag number 3 confirmed. Pale gray or white shanks in any test chick. One bird showing confirms meat breed contamination. Your projected egg production numbers are already compromised. We're halfway through the 6 red flags, and the next one is the one most producers discover too late, only after they've already let that rooster run with their flock for a full season. Don't let that be you. Red flag number 4. By week 6, your test chicks have been on a standard 16% protein grower ration long enough for their genetics to fully express through their structural development. This is where fraudulent bloodline can no longer hide. The legitimate Rhode Island red is defined by one non-negotiable physical signature, the brick. A long, wide, flat back, a rectangular silhouette that seasoned breeders have called the brick shape for generations. This is not a beauty standard. This structural design is functional engineering. That wide chassis houses high-volume respiratory organs that allow the bird to maintain production output through extreme weather shifts. The broad, level back supports a calm, steady temperament under high stocking density. And that physical frame is what allows a properly bred bird to convert fibrous pasture forage into dense, nutritious yolks efficiently, without requiring expensive commercial feed supplementation. Now look at what haphazard crosses produce by week 8 on that same grower ration. Short backs, high V-shaped tails, a pinched, narrow chest cavity. These are the physical signatures of common backyard bird genetics introduced to add deceptive body volume, without the internal infrastructure to support real production. Many unscrupulous merchants make exactly this cross because it produces a bird that looks heavier and more impressive at the point of sale, while completely eliminating the internal space indispensable for maintaining consistent output. By 8 weeks, the defective genetics will show unmistakably through sunken chests, narrow backs, and terrible feed conversion data. These poorly conformed birds develop early bone deformities. They suffer premature reproductive fatigue. They require constant veterinary attention, completely destroying the productive consistency of your long-term breeding program. And the behavioral signs are equally damaging. Birds with this conformation display a flighty, nervous temperament that demand higher fencing and continuous repair work to manage erratic stress behavior at scale. Red flag number 4 confirmed. Short back, high V-shaped tail, narrow chest at 8 weeks. This is not a slow developer. This is fraudulent genetics expressing exactly as programmed. Remove the sire. Red flag number 5. Red flag number 3 confirmed. Pale gray or white shanks in any test chick. One bird showing confirms meat breed contamination. Your projected egg production numbers are already compromised. We're halfway through the 6 red flags, and the next one is the one most producers discover too late. Only after they've already let that rooster run with their flock for a full season. Don't let that be you. Red flag number 4. By week 6, your test chicks have been on a standard 16% protein grower ration long enough for their genetics to fully express through their structural development. This is where a fraudulent bloodline can no longer hide. The legitimate Rhode Island Red is defined by one non-negotiable physical signature, the brick, a long, wide, flat back, a rectangular silhouette that seasoned breeders have called the brick shape for generations. This is not a beauty standard. This structural design is functional engineering. That wide chassis houses high-volume respiratory organs that allow the bird to maintain production output through extreme weather shifts. The broad, level back supports a calm, steady temperament under high stocking density. And that physical frame is what allows a properly bred bird to convert fibrous pasture forage into dense, nutritious yolks efficiently, without requiring expensive commercial feed supplementation. Now look at what haphazard crosses produced by week 8 on that same grower ration. Short backs, high V-shaped tails, a pinched, narrow chest cavity. These are the physical signatures of common backyard bird genetics introduced to add deceptive body volume without the internal infrastructure to support real production. Many unscrupulous merchants make exactly this cross because it produces a bird that looks heavier and more impressive at the point of sale, while completely eliminating the internal space indispensable for maintaining consistent output. By 8 weeks, the defective genetics will show unmistakably through sunken chests, narrow backs, and terrible feed conversion data. These poorly conformed birds develop early bone deformities. They suffer premature reproductive fatigue. They require constant veterinary attention, completely destroying productive consistency of your long-term breeding program. And the behavioral signs are equally damaging. Birds with this conformation display a flighty, nervous temperament that demands higher fencing and continuous repair work to manage erratic stress behavior at scale. Red flag number 4 confirmed. Short back, high V-shaped tail, narrow chest at 8 weeks. This is not a slow developer. This is fraudulent genetics expressing exactly as programmed. Remove the sire. Red flag number 5. Set up specialized trap nests in your laying facilities before the test daughters reach point of lay. Track each bird's daily production individually. A pure bloodline performs with routine consistency, no excuses, no environmental compensation required. Here is what you are looking for in each egg you pull from those trap nests. Firm shell structure, a minimum weight of 2.1 ounces to 2.3 ounces, and a deep, rich brown shell color that reflects strong calcium density and proper pigmentation genetics. Now here's what a fraudulent sire delivers through his daughters. Pink shells, pale chalky shells, fragile shells that crack under normal handling. These are not management failures. They are not nutrition deficiencies you can supplement your way out of. They are the direct genetic expression of cheap industrial layer genetics diluting calcium density at the cellular level. This inherited structural flaw triggers a cascade of health emergencies in pen. Prolapses, egg binding, constant mineral supplementation costs just to keep production from collapsing entirely at peak season. The financial damage is severe, and it compounds every single laying cycle until you remove that bloodline from your program completely. Red flag number 6 confirmed. Pink, pale, chalky, or structurally weak eggs from test daughters. The sire has been crossed with cheap layer genetics. His entire contribution to your flock is compromised. 6 red flags. 1 ruthless audit. Total control over your breeding program. Executing this genetic test cross-out in the dirt is not optional. It is a fundamental filter separating producers who build sustainable livestock income year after year from those who bleed resources maintaining someone else's genetic mistakes. Every feather, shank, and shell you analyze in that test group hands you hard data about the true biological value of your flock sire. By mastering this process, you stop depending on a seller's word and take complete ownership of your production outcomes. Your maternal lines stay protected, your feed investment returns real yield, and your flock builds on itself, season after season, the way a real breeding program is supposed to work. Drop in the comments right now, which of these 6 red flags are you running in your setup right now? I read every single one, and I want to know where you are in the process. Now, before you go, I need to tell you something directly. The producers who are consistently winning on small acreage right now are not working harder than you. They are working with better information, applied at exactly the right moment in the production cycle. Every week on Livestock Labs, we break down exactly that kind of practical, applied science, the kind of knowledge the commercial industry keeps to itself because an informed small acreage producer is a direct competition. If you are not subscribed to Livestock Labs yet, you are making breeding decisions with incomplete data. And in livestock production, incomplete data has a price. You pay it at the feed store at collection time and at the end of the season when your numbers come in short. Hit that subscribe button right now. Ring the notification bell so you catch every upload the moment it drops, because we post every single week and these videos do not stay pinned. If this breakdown gave you something you can use immediately on your operation, hit that thumbs up. It tells YouTube this content belongs in front of serious producers, and that is exactly how we keep this channel growing and this information free. And here is what you cannot afford to miss next week on Livestock Labs. We are going deep into the one flock selection mistake that silently kills laying performance heading into winter, and most producers don't catch it until spring when their production numbers tell them the entire season is already gone. That video goes up next week. If you are not subscribed to Livestock Labs right now, you will not see it in time to protect your flock before temperatures drop. Don't let that be you. Subscribe to Livestock Labs. The information is free. The mistake of missing it is not. To your success, fellow breeder. Until next time.